Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and Jenna Ortega is in the news again, which, has kind of been par for the course lately. Wednesday has been super successful. There's a hype train riding. She's just being talked about a lot. This time, maybe not necessarily for such a good thing, though, because she's being compared to Kanye West. There's accusations of anti-Semitism coming from her, and I don't know how accurate it is. It seems like nowadays anyone successful is easily looked at to try and be canceled just for being successful. There's a lot of, mean people out there eating their own, because it used to only happen to, straight white guys, but now it's happening to people like Kanye, which is pretty understandable. Kanye, I don't believe in being canceled, but dude should probably get some help. And now it looks like Jenna Ortega, at least according to this, Jenna Ortega comparison to Kanye West over anti-Semitic hate sparks debate. So we're going to listen to this video here and then go through the article and see what it has to say. Whoops. Twitter users rushed to Ortega's defense. West, also known as Ye, has caused a lot of controversy. Okay, is this just after making a string of anti-Semitic comments in recent months? Okay, so yeah, let's actually go through here. It looks like it's not going to be one of those that's actually like news coverage, so. An article comparing Jenna Ortega to Kanye West over their purportedly shared anti-Semitic hate has sparked a spirited debate on social media. West, who has legally changed his name to Ye, has been at the center of a storm of controversy in recent months after making a string of anti-Semitic comments during an appearance on conspiracy theorist Alex Jones' InfoWars on December 1st. Well, he had made them a whole lot longer before, I don't know, a whole lot longer, but notably before being on Alex Jones' podcast. In fact, Alex Jones' podcast, Alex Jones was the one who's like, hey, let's reel that back, you're going a little crazy, when Kanye was like being pro-Hitler and stuff. He was also on Tim Pool's show before and just walked right out. So, yeah, Kanye, but this isn't about Kanye, this is about Jenna. I'm just giving you guys the rundown if you're unfamiliar. It was well before the Alex Jones show where Kanye was going a bit crazy. Alex Jones InfoWars, December 1st, West praised genocidal dictator Adolf Hitler and defended the Nazis. The rapper, 45, continued to do so in his interview with Proud Boys founder Gavin McInnes last month. Once again, where Gavin McInnes was like, hey, let's reel that in. He was doing it in a bit more of a comedic way, because at the end of the day, Gavin McInnes does fancy himself somewhat a funny man. But even so, he and Alex Jones were both kind of pushing against Kanye. But you can only push so much before having your guests walk off, and they were trying to keep that from happening, like what happened in the Timcast. So, yeah, it's a pretty strange situation. Before saying only those who believe in Jesus Christ should be permitted to hold positions of power in the United States. What an insane thing to say. Musician West's anti-Semitic comments also include posts that led him to being temporarily locked out of his accounts on Twitter and Instagram. West's Twitter account was permanently suspended last month after he posted an image of the Star of David with a swastika inside. Now, there is some debate about this. I do want to clear this up. It is more likely, and what it was claimed to be, was the image of Raelism. Raelism is a small cult that believes, doesn't have any sort of like Nazi sympathizers or anything like that, like to my knowledge. I've learned a little bit about Raelism because it's actually kind of interesting. It's a cult that basically believes that their current leader is, Jesus reincarnated, as well as several other religious and political people over the years reincarnated, and that aliens will be coming to Earth, and he'll be joining them, and that heaven is truly... It's a crazy UFO religion cult, basically, and their symbol, Raelism, is so yeah, it wasn't like an anti-Semitic thing, but it's still insane. Wednesday star Ortega, 20, was compared to West in an article published by The Times of Israel on December 14th, bearing the headline, Jenna Ortega versus Kanye West, whose anti-Semitic hate is worse. At issue, wrote U.S.-based journalist Dan Margolis, was a link that Ortega shared in the midst of a Twitter thread about helping people in various parts of the world. We must never give up on the people of Ukraine, Yemen, Palestine, Kashmir, Iraq, Syria, the list goes on, unfortunately. She started her thread, shared back in March. For anyone who is willing and wanting to contribute any way they can, I want to form a thread with this information. Does anyone have any resources or links they can add? So here's my thought process. Just off the cuff, because I don't know anything about this. I'm going to say Jenna Ortega is not anti-Semitic. I'm going to say Jenna Ortega is like 20 years old, is relatively up and coming in Hollywood, and doesn't understand any geopolitical concepts or complexities, and is just saying what the Hollywood machine and what people older than her seniors, are saying, so that she can, brown nose and get Twitter points. And hopefully that scores big when woke Hollywood, where she gets bigger and better roles. Now, is that necessarily the case? No, I don't know. But that's probably the case, let's be real. Jenna Ortega, as little as I know about her, doesn't seem like the type that actually cares about politics or anything to that effect. She probably just wants to have a good name in Hollywood, and in doing so, you gotta play the right cards, you gotta say the right things, and a lot of that comes with, taking sides on political issues. It really does. So, I don't think that her being a sheep equates to her being anti-Semitic, but let's keep going. After posting links to various resources to help people in need, Ortega shared a link to an organization called Decolonize Palestine. Alright, yeah, Decolonize Palestine. Welcome to Decolonize Palestine, a collection of resources for anyone who wants to learn more about Palestine. She probably, if I was going to guess once again, doesn't think of it as like anti-Semitic. She hears decolonize, I bet she thinks white people, because that's usually the typical narrative. Oh, the white colonizers came in from Spain, from the UK, they, were awful to Native Americans, they raped, pillaged, and plundered. So she sees the word decolonize, probably assumes, oh, anti-white person, this gets clicks in Hollywood, and goes from there. Not realizing that it's actually a Jewish thing. Decolonize? Was this a clumsy attempt at supporting a two-state solution? Margolis wrote. I clicked the link and I was horrified. Margolis described the website as promoting extremist propaganda, adding that it is advocating for the same position Hamas holds, abolition of the State of Israel, the world's only Jewish state, existing only in part of the land in which Jews are indigenous. The site tells a fictional story in which Jews from Europe were and are foreign invaders who violently displaced a Pacific Palestinian people. So, yeah, this looks pretty bad, not gonna lie. But again, Jenna Ortega is 20. She's not even old enough to drink. She probably didn't click this link. She was probably sent to her by someone of prominence, some blue check mark, and she just copied and pasted it without reading it because, again, she wants Hollywood cachet. Obviously, it probably is going to backfire on her because anti-Semitism isn't going to get you very far in Hollywood, just, as a general rule. But that being said, I don't think she even clicked on this to find out what it was. She looked at this and thought, yup, this is like the terms and service for being in Hollywood. Click the checkbox and send. Earlier in the article, Margolis noted that Ortega presumably sincerely believes that anti-Semitism is evil, no less than sexism, homophobia, hatred of Muslims, or any other forms of racism and xenophobia. The idea that she promotes anti-Jewish causes would likely make her shudder. Exactly, and that's my thought process as well. She's just ignorant and clout-chasing. The problem is that, like millions of other well-meaning Americans, she has no real understanding of anti-Semitism. That is, I'd be willing to bet, 100% accurate. And therefore is unlikely to recognize it in at least some of its forms, he added. And also millions of other Americans, she likely doesn't do much investigation into a cause before she posts it on social media. Screenshots of the article's headline have been circulating on Twitter in the weeks since it was initially published, sparking debate amongst the platform's users. In the post that went viral on Monday, one Twitter user wrote, Kanye, I like Hitler. Oh man, that's gonna get clipped. Jenna Ortega, Palestinians deserve to live. The Times of Israel, Jenna Ortega versus Kanye, whose anti-Semitic hate is worse? Yeah, I mean, this just seems like, yes, it seems like she's being ignorant, but it also seems like the Times of Israel is also being ignorant. They don't care to do their research and find out, oh, does she have a past of this? Is this a one-off thing? Is she a young actress who doesn't know anything that's probably posting stuff without reading it? Like, while, yes, Jenna Ortega is ignorant, the same level of ignorance is right here. And that's, one is not better than the other. Ignorance is ignorance. And it's not bliss. Tired of people who can't differentiate criticism of a state from criticism of an ethnic group, said another. I guarantee you that if you verbally attack at my state, I won't call you Islamophobic. If you say Kurds deserve to live, I won't think you support terrorism. Another responded to the headline with a question of their own, asking which is worse, Kanye's love and admiration for Hitler, or Jenna Ortega's support for the oppressed people of Palestine. As a Jew, bullshit like this enrages me so bad, commented another. This is why it's hard to call out real anti-Semitism, because it gets conflated with Israel's agenda. Palestinian rights do not equal anti-Semitism. No one committed hate crimes because of Wednesday's Love Everyone message, but they sure did re-yays? Alright, whatever that means. However, a number of Twitter users spoke in defense of the article, with one stating that the issue was that Ortega linked to a website that depicted the IP conflict in rather anti-Semitic ways, which is ascribed to Ortega's naivete rather than malice. Exactly, that's my thought process as well. So yes, bad headline, but it's not like the Toll is the only news site to do that. Once again, exactly. I mean, I don't like just going through an article and being like, yep, I agree. But that being said, maybe that's a good thing. This seems like a fair and balanced article, which we don't see a lot of nowadays. I mean, it doesn't matter that it's about Jenna Ortega or Kanye West or anti-Semitism. It could be about anything that has some sort of controversial flair to it. To see an article say, hey, this is what happened, hey, this is what it probably means, but hey, you guys decide for yourselves, that to me seems more like independent journalism, and I can appreciate that. As someone who actually read the article, the issue was that she linked to a website. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, this is just that tweet we read a minute ago. Another urged social media users joining in the criticism of the headline to actually read the article in full, which I always recommend you guys do. And I've actually gotten, in at least one instance, a comment with someone asking me to link them the original article. Yeah, that was an article I read all the way through, but even so, I like it when things like that are done. I urge all of you, even though I go through the entire article, go through it yourself. Maybe you find something that I miss, or maybe the way I deliver it doesn't get the message across as you reading it yourself. So that's probably going to fall on deaf ears for a lot of people, but for those that it doesn't, or if you don't want to be one of those people, yeah, just because I cover an article in full doesn't mean you shouldn't also give it a read, or give other sources reporting on the same story reads, because, you know, how your source delivers a message could alter the message itself. I don't know, linking to the website calling for the destruction of Israel is not similar to Palestinians deserve to live, tweeted another. Newsweek has contacted representatives of Ortega and the Times of Israel for comment. In his article, Margolis explained that he focused entirely on Jenna Ortega because she is an extreme example. There are many others who have taken on Hamas's talking points, such like Bella Hadid, Emma Watson, John Oliver, and Trevor Noah. Yeah, but I don't know who Bella Hadid is, but Emma Watson, John Oliver, and Trevor Noah, I think actually believe it. I genuinely do. I don't think that they are like Jenna Ortega, who has never really had a history of this sort of thing, and it seems just like an ignorant mistake. Emma Watson, especially John Oliver and Trevor Noah, those two, they're news guys. Yeah, they're comedians, but they're comedians who report on the news, and in doing so, they push abhorrent agendas. Trevor Noah and John Oliver are the worst kind of comedic news anchors because they just promote whatever ideology they agree with. But that being said, it's one they agree with. Jenna Ortega, she probably doesn't agree with the ideology of, you know, getting rid of the Jews and all sort of anti-Semitic stuff like that. She just ignorantly posted something she shouldn't have, trying to give a crowd-pleasing, love-everyone message for Twitter points. Trevor Noah and John Oliver, on the other hand, have very documented biases that they continue to push in their forms of comedy. So yes, I can absolutely believe that it's not ignorance for them, and I think using Ortega as the example instead of these guys probably a good call because hers can be attributed to a mistake, whereas these can be attributed to malice. None of the entertainers mentioned above have called for the elimination of the State of Israel. Only Ortega, who actually seems nicer than the others, has done that, probably without even realizing it. She seems to be one of the most genuinely well-meaning people, and yet she was the one to post the most genuinely evil piece of anti-Zionist propaganda and broadcast it to more people than there are Jews on earth. He concluded that, even when combined with goodwill and lack of ill intent, there is no excuse to post propaganda aimed against an extremely small minority group. I kind of agree, kind of disagree. Even when combined with goodwill and lack of ill intent, there's no excuse. No, that literally in itself is an excuse. Should she have done it? No. But also, it was an accident. I mean, if you knock over a glass and it shatters, should you have done that? Well, no one wants their glass broken. But at the end of the day, it's an accident. I mean, you didn't mean to do it. Now, should she have read the articles and gotten the information? Yeah, absolutely. You can say that there's no excuse for her laziness, but not that there's no excuse for the post. There is an excuse, and it's unfortunate that it happened. Maybe it's not a good excuse, but I don't know what you would want someone to do. She can come out and apologize, I guess. Say I made a mistake, own up to it, and say, yep, I didn't even read through this. I should have. Maybe be honest and say, I was trying to, look good and get a good message across. Now, no Hollywood actor ever comes out and says, yeah, I did this because I was trying to look good and I shouldn't have. But my point is, there's things she could be done to, apologize for the issue, but that doesn't mean there was no excuse for it if it was unintentional. Hopefully, Miss Ortega and others like her, there's no hope for Kanye or Kyrie Irving types, will learn more about what they post and who they can harm in the future. That's the end of that. Basically, to me, it boils down to, don't hate Jenna Ortega for an accident like this. Hate her for her acting talent. If he doesn't, maybe don't hate her. Don't hate anyone. Let me rephrase. You probably shouldn't be hating the majority of people. Hate's a pretty strong word. But if you want to dislike someone, dislike them for their personality, or dislike their work if you don't like their work, but maybe not dislike them. But don't just jump on bandwagons that lead to rumors and baseless accusations, much like you shouldn't have jumped to, accusations of anti-Semitism for her. She shouldn't have jumped to making these posts without doing research. There's a whole lot of people making jumps, when 9 times out of 10, it's probably just a kickback, do some research. That's part of what takes me so long to figure out what sort of video I'm going to make, is I want to get an adequate time to look through the news and see, okay, this is being reported, this is being reported. Now, I like to go in blind like I did with this and just give my views on an individual article. But as a whole, the story, you shouldn't jump to conclusions without finishing it. But that's all I've got for this one. Please follow me on Twitter at BoltTheWord, and of course like and subscribe. It would really mean the world to me as I'm trying to grow this channel for 2023. And until next time, this has been Words of Paradise.